Welcome back to Dovitz Entertainment. Step 2, let's create the images that bring your story to life. Let's dive in. Creating the images. You can ask to create different characters and name them how you want. So I've put into the prompt, create an image for the Dave character in Pixar CGI style, landscape aspect ratio. You can choose any style you want, but for this story I wanted it to have that Pixar look to it. And the result looks awesome. Now this is a close-up version of the character, but if you want an image to reference that is a full body one, just add it into the prompt. And it's done a great job at creating a full body pose of this character. These images are great then to use as references for your character in the future. Now I wanted a slightly different look for the character, so I asked ChatGPT to create some variations, and I really liked this image, so this is the version of the character that I'll use going forward. So in the first scene, it's Dave sitting down at his desk while sipping a cup of coffee. And as you can see, it gives me the information of the text on the phone, but I'm actually going to break that up into a separate image, so I'll show you what I mean. So what I've done is I've attached the image of the character, and then for the prompt I just say create an image for, then I put in the scene of the title that ChatGPT gave me, as ChatGPT knows to reference that scene and the content of it, and then I put using the character and the same style as the attached image with a landscape aspect ratio. And I'm really impressed with the image. It's put our character into an office environment, and it's even added in the text message that ChatGPT wrote in that scene. It hasn't quite nailed the text, but it is very close. But I actually want to remove this phone, so I'll show you a really awesome feature within ChatGPT where you can edit your images, just in case you want to change something within the image. So all you have to do is come up to this select button, and you just select the area that you want to edit out. And then I'll just put into the prompt, remove the phone. And it's done a great job at editing the phone out of the shot. And now for the next shot, I want to show him holding his phone and looking at the message. So to do this, I'm going to attach that image of Dave sitting at his desk, and then write in a close-up image of the man in the image holding his phone. And then I prompted it with what I want the message to say on the screen. And I make sure to say only show his hand holding the phone, landscape aspect ratio. It's managed to keep the same style, and it's created the message perfectly. And then for the next shot, I actually want a close-up of his eyes as he's looking at this peculiar message. Now to do this, I follow the same method as before. I've uploaded the image of the character sitting down so it has that reference. And then I've put into the prompt, create an extreme close-up image of the eyes of the character in the attached image. And I'm blown away with the results. I find this method is amazing at creating consistency between your shots. I like to mix up my shots like we've had the wide shots of the character, and now this one is a close-up, and it just helps to mix things up within your story. And it just helps make the animation a bit more interesting with a variety of different shot types. And adding the reference image into the prompt helps with creating the character inside of that environment, so it's got the same kind of lighting as the original image, and if you cut in between all of these images, they seem like they're from the same scene. Then I just did the same process for each scene. Like for scene 2, I added in the original image of the character sitting at his desk, and then I just used the same prompt as before, but I just changed scene 1 for scene 2, disarm the bomb, and ChatGPT will look at the scene that it wrote before and fill in the image with the appropriate context. And it gave me this awesome image of the character thinking that he's disarming the bomb, which in his case is just a burnt toast. And it's done a great job at keeping the same visual style and keeping the character consistent. Now, you may have to steer ChatGPT in the right direction sometimes. As for the third image, I didn't give it a reference image, I just gave it this prompt. Now the image looks really good, don't get me wrong, but you can tell that the visual style has changed slightly from a kind of 3D Pixar look to a more 2D illustration look. So if you find this is happening, then just do the same prompt, but add in a reference image so that it knows what visual style to use. So I did it again, and it did a much better job at sticking with the style. You can also do environmental images if you want to establish your scene. So as you can see in this image here of the character, I just wanted a shot of the environment with nobody in it. So I added in that reference image and then said image of a street in the same style as the attached image, and it created this image. So these are great if you just want to add in some location shots into your animation, and then you can let it flow into the next shot of the character in that environment. And I also created an awesome movie poster for this animation. To do this, I just added the image of Dave into the prompt box, and then I prompted it with using the character from the attached image, create a movie poster for this story, and then I just wrote in what I wanted the title to be, and I also said to create it in the Mission Impossible style font. And it looks incredible. There is no exploding helicopter in my animation, so I actually selected these parts and changed it up a little bit. So I added in the image of the old lady and the spy that's in my animation, and prompted it to replace them in the poster. And I think it looks awesome. And remember, you can take these characters and change how they look as well. So here was a scrapped version of a dream sequence for Dave where he's dreaming of doing amazing things. So I've put him in an astronaut costume, and it's kept the character consistent but just changed his outfit. And here he's dreaming of being a noble knight. So just remember, you can be very flexible with these characters and putting them in different outfits if you want to. You're not just stuck to how they initially look. The problem with ChatGPT is that the images come out at a 4:3 aspect ratio, but the most common aspect ratio is 16:9. So if you do want to change your image, you can use websites like Recraft. You can sign up for free and they give you a handful of credits to use. So I'll just show you how to use it now. So I've uploaded this image. Then click Insert and go down to Frame. Then you just do a frame around it, and you can change the aspect ratio there. So I want 16:9, and then just center your image and make sure it's stretched out and you've only got the sides to fill then. Then make sure to click on this purple area here and then click on Recraft Frame. And then it should seamlessly fill in those extra areas. It's done an awesome job at filling in those sides, and now we have a 16:9 aspect ratio image. So you can do this for all of your shots if you want them to be widescreen. Otherwise, you can just crop it into your original ChatGPT images to make them 16:9, but you will lose some of that image. What I like to do once I've finished all of my images is to lay them all out and see if they all look like they're part of the same story and that they flow naturally. And then if you find an image that you feel sticks out and doesn't belong in your story, you can go into ChatGPT and edit it in there. I'm really happy with all of the images for the story, so now let's have a look at turning these into videos. Now, I know there are loads of AI video generators out there, and shortly I'll show you how these videos turn out using different AI video generators, just so that you get to see how they all look. A really good option is Kling AI, so let's turn this image of Dave into a video using Kling. So when you're on Kling, just make sure you're on the Video Generation tab, and I'll be using the amazing Kling 2.1 model. I won't be using the master version as it costs nearly 3 times the price, but the results I've been getting with 2.1 have been really good. So I've added the image of Dave sitting down in the start frame. I'm using the professional mode, and I've just set it for 5 seconds. So for this example, I'm actually going to leave the prompt box empty, as I found Kling does a really good job at just looking at the image and animating it in a natural way without the need for a prompt. But I will show you shortly on how adding prompts can really help. So I'll click Generate and let's check out the result. I'm very impressed with the video. It's got a really nice natural animation to it, and it seems like it's come straight out of a Pixar film. So using the same image of Dave, I want to see if I can prompt Dave to pull his phone out of his pocket. So I've just put into the prompt, man takes smartphone out of his pocket. Now I know that is a very basic prompt and I could probably word it better, but I just went for simplicity in this one. And I am blown away with the result. He pulls his smartphone out of his shirt pocket, and I think Kling has done an incredible job at animating the shot. And here's another version, but with a 10-second version instead. So as you can see, it takes its time a little bit more, but it has a really professional look to it. I am super happy with how these look. And then I tried another shot, and I just put into the prompt, he picks up the dog poo, and it listens to the prompt perfectly. So far, I found the prompt adherence in Kling 2.1 to be really good. Now I'm going to add an end frame to show you how to do some really nice transitions between shots. Now at the time of recording this video, the end frame option isn't available in 2.1 model yet, so you have to switch to the 1.6 model, which is still a great model to use. So for the first image, I've got Dave sitting at his desk, and then I want the camera to move close to his eyes, and I've just put into the prompt, zoom into his face. And the shot looks great, so this is just another method if you want to create some more dynamic movement between your shots. Another thing I like to animate is these environmental shots. So I've got the shot of the street, and I want the camera panning up, just to add a bit of subtle motion to it. So I've just put into the prompt, camera pans up. And it's created a really nice camera movement in the shot. So these kind of shots are perfect for setting the scene in your animation. So here's a look at different AI video generators using the same image and the same prompt. Now, while they all look okay, I still think Klenk 2.1 is the better looking video. That's it for step 2. See you in step 3, where we'll refine your characters with sound and editing for a polished finish.